You see, like in every society, especially like in a society with this corruption, where no one cares for one another, where people are out to exploit even family members. But even in a developed society, in a first world society, there will always be the poor. There will always be the poor. Even in the Bible, the time of Jesus Christ, there was the poor. So, but the question is, why must it be you? Why must you be among the poor? They said there would always be the poor, but your name should never be on the list of the poor. And I know there's circumstance, there's problem, there's issues. So the reason why there is poor is the inability to think. Like, I have seen a lot of people with all the degrees in the world, PhD, masters. They've gathered so many information, so much information, but they've not been able to use this in the real life. You know, in a circumstance where someone has a PhD, a master's, and then they're working for someone who has not even a high school certificate. And that tells you about the ability to think. The ability to think doesn't mean acquiring all the degrees, all the certificates, all the PhDs. What? No. Those could be gathering of information. Knowledge is what you do with information. Gathering of information is one thing. Knowledge is what you do with that information. So the difference between knowledge and information is action and result. So I've seen people without any qualification, but they have the people with all the qualification working for them. Why? The ability to think. And the ability to think doesn't just mean going to higher education, coming out with a first class. You could be a specialist in one field, but now can you manage people? Can you communicate to diverse range of people? Are you sympathetic? Are you empathetic? These are all the things that goes beyond just having information. So having information is one thing, using that information is another thing. So the ability to think, ability to see something where no one else could see that, to see opportunity where other people see circumstance. That is why some people get rich without all these qualifications, and other people are just working to live with all the information. Now I've seen a lot of people who spend all their time gambling, betting. They play, gamble, bet because they have no plan. They can't think. They can't see themselves getting out of their present condition. So they actually gamble with their lives. They can't take a second and think like, this gambling I'm involving, it's someone else that has thought about it and set this up. The house always wins. The house always wins. You might get a lucky person, 1 in 100, who wins, 1 in 100 tries, but the house always wins. So if you could take a step back and think, the person who's thought about setting up these companies, what was he thinking about before he did this? What can I do? What ideas can I do? What can I come up with? Instead of just thinking or waiting that things are going to fall into your laps. Economy is going to change. They're going to increase the minimum wage, or you're going to win in gambling or something. Why not think about, what ideas can I bring? What services can I offer? What can I do best than any other person? So I've seen a lot of people just sit there, cross their hand and pray without putting into plan an action of survival, an action of winning, an action of coming out of their present circumstance. They just hope and pray, which is wishful thinking. Without the plan, without a strategy, without execution, you probably just remain in the same place. I know people would say, if you came from where I came from, you just walk to eat. You just want to survive. You can't even be bothered with thinking you want to, start up something, spend time to think. But there are people who have come from worse places than you, people with more, even heavier disabilities than you, but they've taken a step and thought about something. They see an opportunity and they've taken advantage. Why? They have utilized their power of thinking. The power of thinking separates the rich from the poor. The power of thinking says to someone, I don't have to go and borrow money I don't have, to buy things I don't need, to impress people I don't like. The power of thinking makes it feels I'm work in progress, so therefore I'm content being where I am, but I'm working towards something. It's the power of thinking. It's the power of thinking that keeps you pushing until when other people gives up. Why? Because you have a plan. For if you don't have a plan, you fall for anything. And that's why there's so many people these days falling for anything. Why? They have no plan. They haven't taken the time to look at themselves, look at their past, look at their error, look at their successes, and say, where can I do better? Where have I gone wrong? Who have I been associating with? What have I been feeding my brain? What have I been reading? And this is the power of thinking. They say thinking is hard, thinking is difficult. If thinking was easy, every person would do it. If thinking was easy, everyone would be successful. Well, because thinking is actually more difficult, more harder than being a laborer. That's why we have 95% of the population being a laborer, working with their hands, and why 5% of the populations are artists. They work with their hand, they work with their head, and they work with their mind. They think about ideas, they think about how to utilize an opportunity. And this is what I'm saying. Especially coming from where I've come, from the people around me, we've grown up being laborers all our life. The biggest fear we'll have is taking a leap of faith and thinking, I want to start something for myself. I want to collide with people. I want to meet people who are going to help me, who are going to make me think. We're so scared of thinking, we probably just give into poverty. And no one will actually accept that they have given into poverty. But if you call someone and ask them, like, let me see your plan for next month, let me see your plan for next year, they will think, man, you're crazy. You are mad, you're stupid. But have you ever been into a company that has no budget, no forecast, no cash flow, who doesn't know what's happening next month? Have you ever been into a company like that and that company is successful? Being an accountant, I know every company has a cash flow forecast. They have a budget, they have a plan. If a company could do that for over maybe 10, 20, 30, 1,500 people, why can't you have a plan for your life, a budget for your life, a forecast for your life, an outlook for your life, what you plan to do in 2 months, 3 months, 6 months, 1 year? And if that takes thinking, and that's why a lot of people don't do it. It's too heavy, it's too difficult to sit down and think, why am I doing this? What have I done? How can I change? What is my plan for this year? What's my plan for next year? The ability to think separates the rich from the poor. Just the free thing. Like this, no one likes. Or they say the reason why we don't use or we don't appreciate our brain power is because it came free to us. No one appreciates anything free. No one appreciates anything free. If we have to pay to acquire this ability to think, then maybe we might value some more. Like if you paid for it, like your branded clothes or something, you could flash it to entice someone or brag about it to someone. Maybe you might value your thinking power more. But because it's inside you, you can't use your thinking power to oppress another people or another person. Some people just shy away from it. But that is the only thing that you have to impress anyone. Your ability to think, your ability to come up with ideas, your ability to reason, your ability to stand up straight. The power to think. The power to think. That is the strongest power in the world. The ability to see opportunity where other people see obstacles. The ability to keep going. Why would you keep going? Because you have a plan, you have a destination. You know where you are going. Nothing would stop you. Why? Because every 100 meters you take, then you can see the other 100 meters. When other people give up, stop, quit, you know there is the until. Without until, you keep going till you find it. Why? Because you know what you're looking for. You know what you're looking for. So the ability to think, it's what separates us from the rich and the poor.